Here, on the rugged, windswept summit of Mount Nebo, a life of extraordinary purpose reaches its poignant conclusion. Moses, leader of the Israelites for 40 tumultuous years, stands at the very edge of his journey. At 120 years of age, his vision remains sharp, his strength undiminished, a testament to a life lived in close proximity to the divine. From this high vantage point, the panorama of the Promised Land unfolds before him, a sweeping tapestry of hills and valleys, a land flowing with milk and honey. It is the destination he has tirelessly guided his people towards, a home they have yearned for through generations of wandering in the unforgiving wilderness. Yet this magnificent sight is tinged with a profound sadness, a personal and final decree from God. Moses, the great lawgiver and prophet, is permitted to see the land, to absorb its beauty and promise with his own eyes, but he is forbidden from setting foot upon it. This restriction stems from a single moment of human frailty, an instance of disobedience at the waters of Meribah where, in a flash of anger, he struck a rock instead of speaking to it as commanded. This act, born of frustration, failed to honor God before the people, and for this, he must end his pilgrimage here, a silent observer on the precipice of a dream he cannot enter. With his final duty done, the great leader lays down his earthly burdens. The scriptures tell us that Moses died there, in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. But his burial is unlike any other in human history. There is no grand procession, no public mourning at a tomb, no monument built by human hands. Instead, the Creator himself takes on the role of undertaker. God personally buries his faithful servant in a secret valley, opposite Beth Peor. This act is one of ultimate tenderness and protection, a final, intimate gesture between the divine and the mortal. The secrecy surrounding the grave's location is a deliberate and crucial act of divine wisdom. To this day, no one knows the place of his burial. Had the location been known, it would have undoubtedly become a site of pilgrimage, and in time, a dangerous focus of idolatry for the Israelite people. They might have been tempted to worship the man, the messenger, rather than the God who sent him. By concealing the grave, God preserved the purity of their faith and protected Moses' legacy from being corrupted into an object of veneration, ensuring that worship remained directed toward the heavens alone. The physical life of Moses may have ended, but his story was far from over. In the unseen spiritual realm that exists parallel to our own, a dramatic confrontation was about to unfold. This extraordinary event, hidden from human eyes, is chronicled in a single, powerful verse in the book of Jude. Following Moses' burial by God's own hand, another powerful entity arrived with a claim. Lucifer, the fallen angel, the great accuser, appeared at the secret grave not to pay respects, but to seize the body of the deceased prophet. It was a bold and audacious move, an attempt to assert his authority over death itself. To counter this dark intrusion, heaven dispatched one of its most formidable protectors, the Archangel Michael. As a chief prince in the celestial hierarchy, Michael is a warrior, a defender of God's purposes and his people. His arrival at the grave was not a coincidence, it was a direct response to Lucifer's challenge. Here, two of the most powerful beings in creation stood in opposition, not over a kingdom or a throne, but over the silent, earthly remains of a man. The stage was set for a conflict of immense spiritual significance, a battle over legacy, authority, and the very nature of redemption. Lucifer's argument for possession of the body was cunning and legalistic, rooted in an undeniable truth. He was, after all, the accuser. He pointed to Moses' sin, the very transgression that had barred him from the Promised Land. He disobeyed, the devil would have argued. He struck the rock. He is a sinner, and as such he belongs to the domain of death, and death belongs to me. In Lucifer's view, Moses' human failure gave him a legal right to the body. He sought to make an example of Moses, to prove that even God's most favored servants ultimately fall under the jurisdiction of sin and its consequences. The Archangel Michael, faced with this accusation, did something remarkable. He did not enter into a debate over the finer points of divine law. He did not boast of his own angelic power or list his own virtues in comparison to Lucifer's fallen state. He refused to engage in a railing accusation or a contest of personal strength. Michael understood that the battle was not his to win on his own merits. The issue at hand was not about his power versus the devil's, but about divine authority versus demonic claim. His response would demonstrate a profound truth about the source of all true power. Lucifer's desire to possess the body of Moses was not born of simple malice. It was a calculated strategy with multiple, sinister objectives. His primary goal was to turn Moses into an object of idolatry. Had he succeeded in taking the body, he could have revealed its location to the Israelites, or even presented it to them himself. The nation, still grieving their beloved leader, could have easily been tempted to build a shrine, to offer prayers to his remains, and to worship the man who led them out of Egypt. This would have been a devastating spiritual blow, diverting their worship from the one true God, and thereby sabotaging the very covenant Moses had helped establish. Beyond the threat of idolatry, Lucifer sought to corrupt the very foundation of God's law. Moses was not just a leader, he was the lawgiver, the human conduit through whom the Ten Commandments and the Torah were delivered to the world. By taking possession of the lawgiver's body, the devil aimed to symbolically seize ownership of the law itself. He could then twist its meaning, turning a guide for righteous living into a rigid, oppressive system of rules. His ambition was to foster a culture of legalism and religious performance, devoid of any genuine relationship with God, thereby enslaving people to the very law meant to guide them. Furthermore, Lucifer's actions were an attempt to desecrate a vessel that had been uniquely consecrated by divine glory. After spending 40 days on Mount Sinai in the presence of God, Moses' own face had shone with a radiant heavenly light, a physical manifestation of his proximity to the Creator. His body was a temple that had housed an extraordinary measure of God's glory. For Lucifer, to claim and defile this body would be a profound act of rebellion, a way to mock God by soiling something he had made holy. It was a deeply personal attack, aimed at dishonoring God's chosen servant, and by extension God himself. Perhaps most cunningly, Lucifer may have been attempting to interfere with future prophecy. He might have possessed some knowledge of God's long-term plans for his servant. Centuries later, at a pivotal moment in history, Moses would appear alongside the prophet Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration, speaking with Jesus Christ himself. By claiming and corrupting the body, Lucifer may have been trying to thwart this future event, to break the continuity of God's prophetic timeline. The battle over the grave was not just about the past. It was also a desperate attempt to sabotage the future unfolding of God's redemptive plan. In this tense standoff, Michael's response was a masterclass in spiritual warfare. Instead of countering Lucifer's accusations with his own arguments, he stepped aside and invoked a higher power. With unwavering confidence, the archangel declared, "The Lord rebuke you." This was not a prayer or a hopeful wish. It was a statement of fact and a command rooted in absolute authority. Michael understood that his own power, however great, was not the issue. He acted as an emissary of the ultimate authority in the universe, the Lord himself. The rebuke was not from Michael, it was from God, channeled through his faithful servant. The effect of these words was immediate and decisive. Lucifer, the prince of darkness, recoiled and vanished. He was not defeated by Michael's angelic might, but by the divine authority that the archangel wielded. He could argue against a fellow created being, but he had no defense against the judgment of the Creator. This moment reveals a critical principle. The true source of victory in any spiritual conflict is not personal strength, intelligence, or righteousness, but complete reliance on God's sovereign power. Michael won not by fighting, but by yielding the battle to the one who had already claimed victory. This incredible hidden event carries profound lessons for believers today. It shows that God's care for his followers extends beyond their earthly lives. Despite Moses' imperfections, God valued him so deeply that he personally handled his burial and dispatched a powerful archangel to defend his remains. It serves as a powerful reminder that God claims his people as his own, and he will defend what belongs to him, even in death. Our worth is not determined by our flawless performance, but by his unwavering grace and protective love, assuring us that our lives and legacies are secure in his hands. The story also illuminates the reality of unseen spiritual battles fought on our behalf. Moses was entirely unaware of the cosmic struggle taking place over his body. In the same way, we are often oblivious to the celestial conflicts and divine interventions that protect our purpose, our families, and our destinies from the enemy's schemes. This narrative encourages a deep and abiding trust in God's unseen protection. While the accuser may seek to lay claim to us based on our past failures, the ultimate authority rests with our Creator, who rebukes the enemy on our behalf and secures our eternal legacy.